Today I want to show you how I would prepare a house brick to use in the rat cage. Now we don't use them very often, but occasionally we'll get a group of rats, like our older boys, that seem to have particularly sharp nails, and we thought if we can help them just to wear their nails down a little bit, it would be a bit nicer when we're picking them up. Now what I've done is gone to my local builder's merchant and asked to buy 2 house bricks. You can buy just 1 house brick if you want. It was 40p each, and I brought them home. They'd been stored inside, so we're hoping they've got no contamination. They were fairly clean, so if they were dirty I'd give them a wash off and leave them to dry before you started to prepare them. But I've got some sandpaper, and you can buy sheets of sandpaper really cheaply. All sorts of places will sell them. I got 25 sheets of mixed surface for £1 from Poundland, so look for places like that. So what I would do is I always keep this side down, so I'm not actually going to touch that side, because this is the side I want the rats to sit on. So I will go around all the edges really well. It takes a few minutes, makes quite a horrible noise, so I'm not going to do it all now, but I'll go around all these edges and down the corners. And on this side there was a little bit of a rough patch, so I've sanded that really well so it's nice and smooth. I have just gone over a few bumpy bits that were on the top here as well. And then what I will do is I'll take this to my cloakroom so I can get it under hot running water. You can use any brush, as long as it's a clean one that you don't use for other things like cleaners. You could use a nail brush or a cheap scrubbing brush. Again, you can get cleaning brushes in Poundland, dish brushes, anything really. I'm using the OXO Good Grips grout brush. And what I do is I'll put this under running hot water, very hot water, and I will give it a really good brush. And I will do the underneath. The whole brick will be really washed well, and that will get off any sort of surface dirt that's on there. And then what I'm going to do is to get my steam cleaner. Just have a look, see if I can get that working. It's going to splatter a bit, so just get the steam working. Now what I will do is I'll get my steam cleaner and I'll give it a really good clean. I'd use an old towel. I'm just going to move the camera back a little bit because I don't want to get steam in the camera. But I will blast that really well. And I will do all the sides. I need to move my camera back a bit further. And I will do the underneath, and I'll just keep doing this probably for, I think you need to do really at least a minute on each side. And do it all over. So I'm not going to do that too much because of the camera, but you need to have a really good steam. Now anything over 60 degrees should really kill any germs that are on there. And the advantage of the steam is it's going to get right into the little cracks, so long as you leave it there for at least, I'd say, a minute over this surface. Just to hold it just above and give it a really deep clean. Steam obviously is formed when water boils, and boiling point is 100 degrees, so that's way over 60, and steam can continue to increase in temperature. So that is the best way that I've worked out of keeping things very clean and getting rid of germs. So when your whole brick has been steam cleaned really well, I would put it on an old clean towel or some kitchen paper, and I like to dry them for at least 24 hours, maybe a bit longer, just until they're completely dried. The brick will come up quite pale in colour when you've done all this, but that's perfectly okay, it's nothing wrong. Natural sunlight coming through the window is also a really good way to get these bricks nice and dry. I was just going to say I wouldn't put them outside to dry, because then you put them at risk of being contaminated. Now these bricks will only work if the rat's going to use them, so I would have them somewhere where the rat is likely to walk across them regularly, maybe near to a food bowl or water bottle. But I would be very careful about the actual placing of the brick. The first thing I would say is to make sure it's on the ground floor level of your cage, a strong level. Never put it onto a shelf or a little platform, because they are quite heavy. and you don't want any nasty accidents of things breaking. And the other thing is not to position it so underneath anywhere where the rat's likely to jump down onto it, because you don't want them to just catch the edge of the brick. Even though you smoothed it off, this is quite hard. So I put it in a corner where they're not going to be able to jump from a distance onto the brick. And the other thing that I found, I'm just going to show you quickly, that I found a good use for the sandpaper. If you've got toys, now you see here, they've had some little nibbles. If it's really bad nibbling, then there's probably not much you can do. But we have found that if there's just little nibbles, that sandpaper is really good. It takes a while, but you can get right in there with the sandpaper and smooth down the surface. And that means that your toys, your plastic toys that have been nibbled, you can get a little bit of extra life out of them, and that's really good. Make sure you wash them afterwards to get rid of any little bits of grit from the sandpaper. So there you go, that's what I would do. Just a cheap way of trying to keep your rat's nails a little bit smoothed off without the trauma of having to have the nails trimmed. And I never trim nails myself because of my vision. And you've got to be extremely careful about avoiding the little quick in the nail, because you don't want to cause excessive bleeding to your rat, and that would be very unpleasant. So I would suggest, if you're a new rat owner, you always go to your vet, or quite often the veterinary nurse will show you how to trim nails safely. And if you're not confident, don't try it. And it's things like that, they're always a lot easier if you've got someone to help you.